Some secrets should never be told. Some confessions should never be shared. And some stories are so disturbing. You remember them long after this video ends. Welcome back to Chilling Confessions. Let's begin. If your grandfather sealed a hidden room beneath his house and refused to explain why for the rest of his life, would you open it? I did. And if I could go back, I would leave that door closed forever. Because what I found beneath my grandmother's farmhouse wasn't an animal. It wasn't a person. And even now, years later, I still don't know what was living under that house. My grandmother lived alone in a farmhouse deep in rural Maine. No nearby houses. No traffic. No streetlights. Just endless woods, a dirt road, and a house so old it seemed to groan even when there wasn't any wind. She loved that place. Every summer, I stayed there for a week. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of place where nothing ever happened. At least, that's what I thought. The first strange thing happened on my very first night. Around 2:30 in the morning, I woke up to footsteps. Someone was walking downstairs. Slowly, back and forth, across the kitchen floor. At first, I wasn't concerned. I assumed it was my grandmother. Maybe she couldn't sleep. Maybe she wanted a glass of water. But the footsteps didn't stop. They continued for nearly an hour. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, I fell asleep. The next morning, I mentioned it during breakfast. And that's when things got strange. My grandmother stopped spreading butter on her biscuit. She looked at me. Then she asked a question. Did it sound like shoes? I nodded. The color drained from her face. Then she quietly explained something. My grandfather used to pace the kitchen every night before bed. Every single night. Same footsteps. Same pattern. The problem was, he had died 4 years earlier. I laughed nervously. Surely that was just a coincidence. An old memory. Nothing more. That's what I told myself. Then the third night arrived. And suddenly, the footsteps weren't the scariest thing in that house anymore. I woke up to scratching. Not downstairs. Not outside. Inside my bedroom wall. Scratch. 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 The sound was slow. Deliberate. Like fingernails dragging across wood. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The scratching stopped. For a moment, everything became silent. Then I heard 3 knocks. Knock. 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 Coming from inside the wall. I didn't sleep again that night. The next day, I searched outside. No tree branches touched the house. No animals. No signs of anything unusual. That afternoon, while helping my grandmother organize the basement, I noticed something hidden behind old shelves. A small wooden door. A crawl space. It was only a few feet tall, just large enough for someone to crawl through. A heavy rusted padlock hung from the latch. I asked what was inside. My grandmother immediately looked uncomfortable. Nothing. I pointed at the lock. If it's nothing, why is it locked? She didn't answer. Not a word. That silence bothered me more than any explanation could have. That night, curiosity got the better of me. Around midnight, I grabbed my phone and headed downstairs. The basement smelled damp, like mildew and wet dirt. I moved the shelves aside and approached the crawl space. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. The padlock was open. Earlier that day, it had looked rusted shut. I was certain of it. Now it hung loose. The crawl space door sat slightly open, as if someone had just used it. I should have gone upstairs. Instead, I opened it. The smell hit me instantly. Rotting earth. Moisture. Something sour. Something wrong. I shined my flashlight into the darkness. The crawl space stretched far beneath the house. Dirt floor. Stone supports. Blackness. Then my light landed on something. A chair. An ordinary wooden chair. Sitting alone beneath the house. Facing a wall. For some reason, that terrified me. A chair shouldn't have been there. Not in a crawl space. Not facing a wall. Then I heard movement. A scrape. Soft. Slow. Coming from deeper inside. My hand started shaking. I called out. Hello. The movement stopped. Silence filled the darkness. Then something answered. Not with words. With a breath. Long. Slow. Right beside my ear. Every hair on my body stood up. I spun around. Nothing. The crawl space was empty. At least, that's what my flashlight showed. I slammed the door shut and sprinted upstairs. I've never moved that fast in my life. The next morning, I told my grandmother everything. This time, she finally told me the truth. Years before I was born, she and my grandfather had heard something moving beneath the house. Every night, scratching, crawling, breathing. My grandfather assumed it was an animal. One night, he grabbed his shotgun and went down there. 10 minutes later, he came back, white as a ghost, terrified. According to my grandmother, he immediately nailed the crawlspace shut, then added the padlock. When she asked what he had seen, he refused to answer. For the rest of his life, he only said one thing. It wasn't an animal. Then he never spoke about it again. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 3 in the morning, the footsteps returned, walking through the kitchen. Slow, steady, back and forth, back and forth. Then they stopped. Silence. Then 3 knocks. Knock, 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 on my bedroom door. My entire body froze. I whispered my grandmother's name. No response. Then I heard a voice. Old, weak, coming from the hallway. Speaking my real name, not the nickname my grandmother always used. My real name. The voice came closer and said it again. Then suddenly my grandmother screamed. I ran downstairs and found her standing beside the basement door, shaking, crying, pointing. The basement door was wide open. The light was on, and covering the kitchen floor were hundreds of muddy handprints. Not footprints, handprints, as if something had dragged itself out of the crawl space using only its arms. And that's where today's story ends. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts below. If you enjoy real confessions, relationship drama, mysteries, and horror stories, subscribe for more. Until next time, stay curious.